Welcome back again, guys. So today is day 27 of the 100 Days of the Cloud AWS series. So just the day we finished for day 26, now is day 27. So here the lab title is Configuring a Public VPC with an EC2 instance for internet access. So if we are ready, let's go. I think it will be working. Please don't take time too much for this loading state. So let me enter draw.com. So during a loading process, anyway, it's clear. So frankly saying, I already prepared from illustrations and some architecture designs for this mini lab. Okay, so before we read, I wanted to explain with the diagram. So you can simply think of like this is the kind of like a VPC, virtual private cloud. So within the VPC, we can create the multiple subnets. Okay, this is subnet 1. For example, you can think of like subnet 1. Okay. So, and also, okay, this is subnet 2. 2. Sorry. Subnet 2. So this is subnet 3. Okay. So within a VPC, we have like commonly used. It is commonly used private IP range. For this lab, we can use like 10.0.0.0/16. So this is the IP range, private IP range. So for the subnet, we can use like the for example. So this is we can use with the 24-bit network portions, and here like you can use 1.0/24 for subnet 2. You can use 2.0/24. This is private IP range. It's a public, possible IP range. So this is 3. So you can think of like that. So within a subnet, and we can run the virtual machine. We can create anyway. For Azure, we can create virtual machine. For AWS, we can create EC2 instance, something like that. Can create new EC2 instance. So yeah, so this is simplified diagram for this lab. So okay, we'll read the given instruction. Okay, before I read, let me copy all of this content from here to this right here. Okay, we read the given instruction. So nautilus dev-obtain has received a request from the networking team to set up a new public VPC. So VPC long form is virtual private cloud. So to support a set of public facing services, so remember this. So we're gonna make it that this subnet has to be public services, public facing services. Alright, that's great. So we keep reading. So this VPC will host various resources that need to be accessible all over the internet. So as part of this setup, you need to ensure that VPC has public subnets. So we're gonna have to make all of these subnets has to be publicly accessible. That's the thing we need to do right there. Okay, so with the automatic IP assignment, right? That's great. Now we are doing with this IP range. Okay, so additionally a new EC2 instance will be launched. So within this VPC, right? So within this big VPC, we will create or we will run the new EC2 instance. So maybe that's running within a subnet. this subnet. Okay, so this is similar comes with the previous lab from the Azure series. So if you don't watch that video, I really recommend you watch that video. So okay, we keep reading that. So this setter, okay, so to host public applications and that require SSH access, that's great. So this setter will enable the networking team to deploy and manage public facing applications. That's great. So now it is time to create a public VPC. So VPC name is nautilus-pub-vpc and subnet name is here nautilus-pub-subnet under the same. So we have to create this VPC a subnet within this big VPC. Bear in mind about that. So okay, that's great. So make sure public IP is being auto-assigned to resources under this subnet. So further create an EC2 instance name. So EC2 instance name is nautilus pub EC2 under this VPC. So okay, so with the instance type is t2.micro, make sure SSH port 22 is open for this instance and accessible over the internet. All right. So we're gonna have to make sure SSH port 22 is open. So how about to create a SSH key pair from here? Okay. So basically, you can simply understand this architecture diagram. So we have the internet. So between the internet and VPC, we have to set up with the internet gateway to receive the incoming traffic from the internet, and then we have to create a route table but within the VPC, and we have to also set up with the security group for the privacy and to manage the public access or private access, SSH access or HTTP access, something like that. So within the public subnet, we have to create EC2 instance. So this is overall diagram of for this lab. Here is the total number of steps that we had to approach to complete the challenge. Okay, so before we create the VPC, I think we need to create the SSH key pair. So let me find out how to create new for EC2 instance and import public key from AWS from CentOS terminal. Alright, so I will run this command to create the SSH key pair. You already know that. So here we will use RSA algorithm, and let me use 24/8, and this is a password left. Let me create password list, but it is not clearly mentioned about to create the SSH key pair right here, but I would like to create the SSH key pair. Let me create that. So I will keep within this correct directory pathway, enter. So you can read the id rsa.pub. So you can get this public key from here. You can copy anywhere. So I will keep that public key right here. Maybe we can use it later. Okay, so and I will import that public key within a file. So I will run this command. So I will give the key name is I will give the SSH key. Here also I will give the public key SSH key. Now I will import that key. oh sorry, this is not correct. This is, we have to give this file name, because you already know that, you know, SSH folder. So within the SSH folder we have sorry again, to make it clear, ls-la. So here we have this is the private key of the SSH key pair, this is the public key, so we need to give the correct file name. So I shouldn't change I'll change the file name is like this. Alright, so now we run this command to import the SSH key. Let me get, the name is rsapublinc. Okay. Okay, let me run this command. rsapub. Okay, that's great. Okay, so we successfully import the key pair before we creating the EC2 instance. Okay, now the first step is we have to create a public subnet. So here the public subnet is, you know, we're gonna have to make the possible IP range. Mainly, you know, for this mini lab, we have to use this private network range 10.0.1.0/24. So let me find the command that we have to run. So how to create a new public VPC. So I will copy this command, this sentence from CentOS terminal. So alright, that's great. So you can run this command to create the new VPC, but remember this is with the variable or parameter, because they keep the value within this variable, but I don't use like that, so I will run like this. Let me get let me run again, including name task specification, SPECI FNC task specification. So I don't know, I don't need this. Alright, this is great. I will run this. Okay, I mean, this no problem. So we need to give the correct name, correct value. So VPC name is here nautilus-pub and -vpc. I will replace that. So this is we keep within this variable. So this is CINDR block range is network range is 10.0.0.0. That's correct. Here is the task specifications. So we will keep. Okay, now we run this command to create a new VPC. So after we create the new VPC, we have created that, right? So we'll go to the second step. So that is how to create a public subnet. So I will copy this. I don't copy that. How to create new subnet, AWS subnet within a SPEC and specific VPC from CentOS terminal. Let me find like this. So I can run this command. So region is US, is -1 region. You can remove this this part, this line. So CINDR range is, you know, but this is not enough, you know, because we need to give the correct, we need to give the name, including name task specification. Specification. Okay, alright. So now I will run this command to create the subnet. Okay, so we can get the VPC ID from here. So this is the VPC ID. So I will keep this VPC ID somewhere. I can keep it right here. Okay, this is the VPC ID. We will use it later. So now I need to replace this VPC ID right here. Okay. So CINDR block range is 10.0.1.0/24. That's correct. So my subnet, this new subnet name is, what is that? So the new subnet name is nautilus-pub-subnet, right? So I will replace that. Now we run this command. Anyway. Okay. I will create this. Oh. So something is wrong. Oh. Because I have to remove this greater than and less than. Okay. I will run it again. Okay, so now we successfully create for the new subnet. We create a new subnet under the same VPC. Okay, now it's time to enable auto public ID. So now it's a third step, because we are doing for the we are doing for the public applications, right? So we're gonna have to make the publicly accessible, right? So okay, so how to enable AWS subnet? How do we do that? Auto public IP assignment from CentOS, anything like that. So before we run this command, we need to know the subnet ID. And so what is a subnet ID? So subnet ID is right here. I will copy this subnet ID. So let me also key right here. This is a subnet ID. Alright, so I will replace here. Correct subnet ID is this. Now I will run this command. Where is diagram? Because we had to make this subnet is public subnet. That's why I run this command. So now we run this command. Okay, so we successfully did it. So now we keep going for the step 4. We have to create an internet gateway. So it is not mentioned about to create the internet gateway within this given instruction, right? So actually, I think we don't need this step 4. We can check the current existing default internet gateway ID. How to get the current default ID or gateway. AWS or AWS from CentOS terminal. So I can run these commands. So you clearly see that we need to replace with the VPC ID. Actually, we already keep the VPC ID within a variable right here. I think so. Yeah, here. So you can run this command here to get the internet gateway ID of this current. Let me run this command. So we don't get any internet gateway ID right here. So something is wrong. So let me give the correct direct value right here. I will give this VPC ID. And let me run this. Okay, so I don't get any internet gateway ID. So I think I need to create new internet gateway ID, internet gateway. So let me create how to create new internet gateway. So I can run this command. Here create internet gateway, tag specifications, result type is internet gateway, tag key is name, value is, you can get any name that you like to get. Let me get nautilus, 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 internet gateway, IGW, I will run like this, and nautilus, nautilus. Okay. Wait. Okay, that's great. Okay, now I successfully created a new internet gateway ID. So, and after that, we will keep going to the next step. So we have to attach to this related VPC. So we get the internet gateway ID, right? So now it's time to match the internet gateway and this new VPC that we created recently. So how to attach, let me find again. Attach internet gateway to VPC. So here, so we can run this command to attach. So okay, so internet gateway ID is, I can get from here. So I also keep this internet gateway ID right here. So that is internet gateway ID, and I will replace right here, and then I need to put the VPC ID. So VPC ID is this. That is the VPC that we created recently. So I will make the attachment of those two things. Now we run this command. Alright, so we successfully attach with the internet gateway ID and VPC. Right, so we keep going to the next step. So that's it. We have to now it's time to create the route table. So here also we need to think about that. Do we need to create a route table? Because it's not mentioned about to create the route table in the given instruction. So probably we can get the default route table ID. How to get the default route table or AWS from the CentOS terminal or something like that. So here is we need to know the VPC ID. Right. Okay. So I will run these commands and I will replace with the correct VPC ID. So where is the VPC ID? So this is our VPC ID. I will replace right here. Okay. Now let me run this command. So yeah, we have the route table ID. So I will also keep this route table ID right here. So this is the route table ID. Okay, now we need to go to the here, step 7. Okay, so we need to add new route to this route table. So okay, how to add the new route to the route table? So let me run this new command again. New route is for SSH access. That's great. No, I think. Okay, now I will run this command to create a new route within this route table. So before I run, I need to replace the correct values again. So route table ID is, I will get from here. Alright, that's great. And the CIDR range is 0.0.0.0/0. This is a publicly accessed. So we make it publicly accessible from the internet. Alright, destination CIDR range is correct. So here also we need to give the correct gateway ID, because here you will see that route table is a kind of like a medium layer within the internet gateway and public subnet or VPC. So that's why we need to give the correct value of the gateway ID and route table ID. Okay, so gateway ID is, I can get from here again. So this internet gateway ID. Alright, so I will run this command to add the new internet route. Yeah, so return is true. That's great. So now we keep going for the step 8 here. So after we created a route table and we also added the new route to the route table of the internet for the internet gateway. So now it is time to associate this route table and this public subnet, right? This route table and public subnet. So we need to associate these two things. Here we finish this stuff, we finish this stuff. Now it's time to associate public subnet and route table, right? So how do we do that, sir? How to associate public subnet and route table in AWS from CentOS terminal. So you can run this command again. So here again we need to replace the actual value. So route table ID is here. is the RTB is route table, and the subnet ID. So where is the subnet ID? So this is subnet ID. We need to give the correct subnet ID. So now I will associate these two things to to differentiate route table and public subnet to work properly. So route table is like it has to manage the incoming traffic and to point to the destination, related destination, and also it also have to manage for the outcoming traffic from the public subnet or EC2 instance, something like that. Okay, so now what is RTB? Our subnet. So I will remove this and I will give the correct value. Now I will run this command. Now I will run, okay. So I will run this. Okay, so state is here, associated, that's great. So this is association ID, probably, let me copy this. Actually, I don't need to copy this association ID. Oh, that's pretty big. Alright, so what's the next step? So the next step is here, we have to create a security group for this VPC. So here also again, it's not mentioned about to create a new security group in this given instruction. Okay, so how to get the, well, let me check the security group ID of the VPC or AWS from CentOS terminal. Okay, let me run this command. So VPC ID is here, we need to get the correct value. So VPC ID is here. I will copy that. So for this VPC, do we have the wait, do we have the security group? Yeah, so for this VPC we have the security group ID, so I don't need to create a new security group, so we can apply this security group. Alright, so I will key here, this is security group ID. So okay, we keep going. Then the next step is we have to add a new inbound rule to allow SSH access at the port 22, right? So okay, so let me run this. How to add new inbound rule for SSH access on port 22 and security security group or AWS VPC. I found like that. So we can run this command. Alright, so here, so we're gonna make the authorization for the security group ingress. So what is security group ID? So I already copied the security group ID right here. I will run this. I will replace with the security group ID and TCP and protocol type is TCP and the port is 22. So CIDR range is, I will give the public access 0.0.0.0/0. So I will give this. So now I will run this command. So let me run this command. Okay, so here we get the security group ARN value. That's great. So this is security group ID is the same right here. Yeah. Oh. Oh no, this is the security group ID. We don't need to copy this. This is a security group ID. That's great. So what is the next step? We're gonna have to now it is time to finally it is time to create the EC2 instance, you know, using this specific name under this VPC and that we created recently. So we created new VPC, right? So within that VPC we had to create a new EC2 instance. Okay. Now I will copy all this sentence and I will find that. So we finished these 3 steps here. Identify your network resources. Let me run this command anyway. So we have 2 VPC. Maybe one is for default. So our VPC is right here, ending with an F8. So this is new VPC that we created. So we have to use this VPC actually. So alright, we finished this stuff. We don't need this. Also, we don't need this. Okay. So, but we need to get the AMI image ID. So let me find again. For the step 11. So I will copy this. How to get a random image audio AWS from CentOS. So I will run this command to get the AMI image ID. So here I get the AMI image ID and I will keep it somewhere. Here, let me keep right here. Okay, so now we go to this step 12 here, launch EC2 instance. So how do we launch the EC2 instance? So here is, so we can run this command to create the EC2 instance. So here is image ID is, I need to get the correct image ID. I will remove this and I will copy from here. Okay, where is that? So here the key pair name is here. Key pair names we can copy from here. So this is a key pair name that I gave. So we need to give exactly the same as the same. So I will remove this and I will give this RSA public. That's great. And security group ID is here. I can get here the security group ID. So I will replace right here and the subnet ID. So where is the subnet ID? So this is the subnet ID. Alright. And the task specifications, resource type is instance, and these are tags. Tags, so here key is names, value is so value is nautilus-pub-ec2. That's great. So here type is t2.micro. That's a great, right? Now let me create this EC2 instance. Everything's correct, right? Okay, now let me run that. Okay, so finally we created the whole EC2 instance within a VPC, and also we can think like within a subnet, because we associate with the subnet ID right here. So we can call it like, we can think like we create that EC2 instance also either within the subnet, right? So finally we get the public IP address of the EC2 instance, and then we're trying to access to the EC2 instance using SSH access. So okay, no, I don't need this. How to get the public IP of the AWS EC2 instance from the CentOS terminal. Alright, let me run this command. So here also again I need to replace with the correct instance ID. So instance ID is where? Instance ID. Oh, I can get from here. Here, instance ID. Okay. So I'll replace and I copy it, and I will run this command. Alright, so finally we get it. So let me access with the you know, we're using this public IP address. So let me find again. So username is, let me use EC2 username and add, and I will put this public IP address. Oh. So permission denied. So something is wrong. Maybe username is not correct. Yeah. So finally we can access to this EC2 instance using SSH. Alright, so let me check it out and click confirm. I hope, yeah, it was probably. That's it. Oh, we take time around 4 to 5 minutes. So that's really great. You know, we do approach the problem, you know, step by step. So here, some steps are not essential. You know, it's just for making sure, you know, we don't need to check it again. So for example, like this stuff, you know, for this step 9, we don't need to create a security group, right? Because it's already existing, we, you know, relating with this VPC, right? And also, do we create a route table? Yeah, I think we create a route table. Alright, so yeah, that's it. So if I can do it, you can also do it too. I definitely trust you. So if you definitely understand this, you know, baseline structure and concept, so you can easily approach the problem and you can complete the challenge very well. Alright, so thanks for watching. I will catch you in the next coming video. See you guys.